Hello, innovators. I'm Todd Weyandt, and welcome to the Bridging the Gap podcast presented by Tech Group. You're invited to join our conversation to model the future of construction innovation and the digital transformation adventure of this great industry. My guest today is Roger Yarrow. He's the CEO and co-founder of TrueLook, where he drives the company's strategic vision, fosters innovation, and ensures operational excellence while cultivating a creative and collaborative culture. Welcome to the show, Roger.
Awesome, Todd. Thanks for having me here, and thanks for that awesome intro.
Well, yeah, thanks for joining and looking forward to the conversation. So I like to get started with how you got into this industry to begin with.
Yeah, so TrueLook, we do construction camera systems. My background is not construction. My background is actually nerd. So I grew up a lifelong computer geek. I watched my dad build our first home computer, dial-up modem, all that good stuff. Really got fascinated with computers, computer programming, computer graphics, video games. And ultimately, that's what I went to college for, which was computers. I guess I have a bachelor's in computer science. I minored in computer graphics. And so I've always been involved in computers. Obviously, I've said the word computers multiple times so far, but I started working at large organizations like IBM and Xerox and a lot of systems administration and networking. And then, the internet sort of became a thing and everything shifted to this online world. And I was really fascinated by the web as it was evolving. I left those opportunities at the larger organizations and went and ran a web hosting company. And that's what really kind of got me into the web side of the computer industry. And TrueLook is kind of the culmination of all my skills I developed over my early career, which is that computer graphics, the visual aspect I love so much about technology, and then the whole web-based infrastructure of my background to deliver a cloud solution that's very visual. So I sort of meandered on this path of what looks good, what looks cool, what's fun to see, and then how do we deliver that online? And I just fell into TrueLook through just dumb luck and perfect timing, where we took a technology that connected cameras to the internet and turned that into a successful business that's TrueLook today.
Nice. What about construction kind of drew you in?
Yeah, absolutely. So TrueLook started as connecting cameras to the internet, and we actually have our origins in media and entertainment. When you wanted to get eyes on your website back in the day for a big event. So TrueLook did a lot of media. We had cameras on every continent at one point, at the South Pole Research Station, on top of the Empire State Building. If it was a PGA or NBA Final Four, any kind of big media event where you wanted eyes on it back in the pre-early internet days, people would use TrueLook to connect a camera to their website to get people to visit those events. And as time went on, I wanted to, and as technology evolved, the ability to do that obviously became more common. And media companies and entertainment, they wanted to control that content in-house. And so that side of the business went away. But what we found was there was a real need from one specific segment of our business where they're like, we do need eyes on this real event. We do want something recording it, letting us see it, let us document it. And that was construction. So as the media and entertainment side of our business sort of went away, we noticed that our construction customers stayed. They said, I love how I can see my project while it's being built and I'm not there. I love how you could take a time lapse of it and I can have that data to refer back to. So we realized we had something great there. And that's where we then focused all our efforts on, was creating a platform and a product and a solution that would work well for construction. And that comes through in everything we became today, developing ruggedized turnkey hardware that's very easy to ship and service all over the US. And then a simple plug and play interface for users to access that camera and do the variety of things they need in the construction ecosystem.
Yeah, very cool. It's a cool journey that you guys have been on there for sure. One of the kind of mottos, if you will, that pops up with TrueLook is the total job site visibility. I wonder if you could kind of elaborate on what encompasses that beyond just the kind of the visual monitoring, and how does that integrate with the overall kind of project management decision making process?
Yeah, absolutely. Total job site visibility, of course, can mean a couple things. All our cameras will let you live stream so you can watch your job in real time. That lets you know what's going on. You can catch mistakes before they happen. You can make decisions in real time. So that's a kind of visibility right there. You know the current state of the union. You can see what's happening. You can talk about things and you can make course corrections and adjustments. There's also all of our cameras will do time lapsing. And so that's documentation essentially. So if your project is 1 month or 5 years, it's captured from beginning to end. So you get visibility into the whole life cycle of your project. If you have a problem 6 months later, 10 years later, you can refer back to the data you collected during the time that TrueLook camera was documenting your job. So it's a different kind of visibility. It's a after the fact, you can go back and review what you documented. And then we also offer on all of our cameras security recording with additional features layered on top of that if you want to go deeper into security, but you're recording your job site all the time as well. So you have real time live footage of what is happening on your job. So if there's a theft, an accident, an incident, something very cool went down, a huge piece of equipment was being lifted, or a pour was happening, you have that recorded video you can go back to. So all of these different components of what the camera provides, live video, pictures, recording, that gives you total job site visibility. And all this content can be shared across, a sub on site all the way to the owner, to the marketing team for public engagement. You can use this media. That's where the total part comes in. You can use it for all people involved with your project, even if you're looking at an invoice and you need to verify that someone was on site at that day. You can match it all up with the visual data so that total visibility of all the different areas of your job. That's kind of the motto and the niche we fulfill.
Yeah. Nice. How has the concept of job site visibility evolved with all the advancements in the industry?
Yeah, it started literally as a very low resolution picture before there was the word megapixels. We all watch TV on a regular CRT TV before we all have 4K now. So job site visibility started pretty badly, I would say. A low resolution picture taken at a very infrequent amount of time, one picture an hour. And now everything scales to real time, high frame rate, multi megapixel 4K, 8K imagery. So as technology has evolved and obviously connectivity, we went from you would have to have wired internet on a construction site, which was very expensive, very challenging. You would need IT resources way back in the day before there was the concept of 3G. So the technology of getting visibility on your job site was very hard. The skill set, you would definitely need dedicated IT or people to do that for you. And then as 3G and 4G evolved, all of our systems come with a built-in cellular router. So it's plug and play. You don't have to worry about that connectivity aspect. That's handled by us as part of the solution. So now, instead of going from something that's very hard to set up, that didn't really deliver a good quality image, and as all of time and technology is allowed, now you have something that's very turnkey, plug and play. Just like a phone in your pocket, you have connectivity and high resolution photography easy. And that's sort of the arc of our story is we've taken all the hard stuff, jumped on all the easy technology that made it simple. And now we have an easy turnkey solution that just literally it can come in a box and you can just hang it up and plug it in.
Yeah, very cool. So I want to dig into the live stream kind of time lapse a bit more. How are those technologies really facilitating better collaboration among the project stakeholders, especially in remote or even large scale projects?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, a picture is worth 1,000 words. A video is worth, I don't know, 1,000 pictures or something like that. So as you can imagine, margins are slim in the industry and travel is a huge expense. And so if you have to travel to every job site to know what's going on or to rely on input from those on the ground, you're not going to get the whole story. Live video is a great way to obviously sit at your desk and a project manager can look at every single job and see what's going on. They can have multiple monitors, screens showing all their projects. They're there filling out their paperwork and they can see the state of each job. Think back to COVID. Nobody was traveling. Everybody was trapped at home. One of the first industries to restart was construction. So the value of having a TrueLook camera or any other, camera on site was you were still trapped at home, but you could see the work that was going on. So the value of being able to remotely view, if your job site is in some remote location, it's difficult to get to, then everybody involved in the project, all the stakeholders, it becomes easy to see what's going on. You can capture footage, create time lapses. You can share this on weekly, monthly updates. The owners can now see where their dollars are going. Encourages accountability, which is a huge value add for those who are financing the project. They can actually see if you are making progress, if you are behind schedule, if you are saying one thing, it can be validated with the camera. So accountability and transparency are now possible when you have this live video feed of the actual job site.
Yeah. So you brought up the accountability and transparency there. How do you translate that with, creating the business case for investing in the technologies to have kind of the videos there? How's that translated to the ROI for
Yeah.
construction?
A lot of the ROI these days is on the security side. Everybody is very security focused right now, obviously, for all the obvious reasons, cost of materials, theft of materials. There are many reasons why you want to have a camera from the security side of the business. And if you have a theft, you have footage right there that is useful for insurance purposes, quick resolution. So that's a obvious ROI. When you switch back to the live viewing of it, the ROI comes from catching mistakes before they happen. We have quite a few good case studies on the website. Someone will be monitoring the camera. They may see a pour about to happen when they know it's in the wrong place or the equipment's in the wrong spot. You can pick up the phone, call someone, and stop right away and prevent a costly mistake from being made. So if you can appreciate the opportunity for something to go wrong and then have the ability to prevent it from going wrong, that's ROI right there that you may never realize because you didn't realize that you actually stopped it ahead of time. So a lot of people enjoy watching their cameras to know the state of the union of the job and making sure nothing goes wrong before it goes wrong. And then if something does go wrong, you have that documentation side, the time lapse, the recording of the project. That's accountability again. And the ROI is you can prove not necessarily who was at fault, or maybe that you weren't at fault, that something went wrong, that you had a delay due to weather, that any number of reasons that put you at risk for going over budget or incurring fines. You have proof now that, maybe it wasn't your fault and you're not liable. So there's the protection angle as well. So there's a couple different ways to get ROI out of having a camera on site. And sometimes you don't know about it until it helps you. And other times you have to sort of be forward thinking and be like, this will save me if it does happen.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you bring up the ability to stop something from being costly, and it's a hard thing to be able to quantify and measure. Of like, we prevented all this from happening, but that's a huge benefit and ROI for sure. That's kind of built in if you're really leveraging it and using it properly.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting use cases to just prevent issues or maybe to just make things go smoother. Obviously, if you can direct traffic better on your site because you can see what's coming and you have the schedule and right in front of you, you'll be able to, just make things go smoother, and minutes add up to hours and hours add up to days. And obviously each of those carry their own cost. Just again, being on top of things and having the tools to let you see what's happening in real time, you can eke out $1 every day and those add up.
Yeah, for sure. A potential argument for this is the privacy aspect of it. How do you go about managing you're recording people? Is there a privacy risk that comes into play when you have job site cameras?
Yeah, it's 2025 and everybody is holding a camera in their pocket right now. There's cameras on every corner. Everything we do is broadcasted over social. So I feel the expectation of privacy is different today than it was when the business TrueLook first started, almost 20 years ago at this point. A lot of people originally were resistant to the idea of a camera. They thought it was Big Brother watching them. We're going to use this to get you in trouble. If you're doing something wrong, you're going to be caught. And, early cameras could have been unplugged, vandalized, just because of, not really appreciating what the camera was giving and just seeing it as a negative. As time has gone on, everybody, I'm not going to say has less expectation of privacy, but you're going onto a controlled job site. There's expectations. You will be wearing proper safety gear. You will have your PPE and your steel-toed boots, and you'll be there at this time, and you're being paid for your job. And a camera is just another safety tool at that point to make sure the job is being done safely. It's being done according to expectation. And that camera can be used for training, to protect you as a worker, because it's going to make sure people can see that you're there and maybe in an area where something risky is going down. So the camera, while you may think it's invading your privacy, it's typically going to be used to help you do your job rather than be a hindrance and get you in trouble if you don't do your job.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing because one of the things we talked about a lot on the podcast is how to better communicate to the field and present the messaging that really resonates with them of their pain points and what they're dealing with, instead of just like, hey, we're doing this technology because Corp wants to do the technology. How do you go about communicating that? I think the safety aspect is an interesting angle to bring up with them as well. Just curious on how those conversations go with the field.
With technology, you got to have buy-in. Obviously, a corporate mandate only goes so far if the people who are actually using the technology and relying on the technology don't want it. So definitely the field has to be invested in the success of whatever technology you're implementing. It's easy to say this camera is here to help you. It's not really going to help anybody do their job per se, but in all the other tangible things I described with documentation, safety, the real-time collaboration, those things help make a job site run safer and more efficiently. So it's challenging to tell one person in the field, this camera is going to help you because of these particular reasons, but it does help the entire job as a whole. And they're very commonplace now. Everybody has cameras on their jobs. And especially when you get into that security conversation, people will know that when they're not in the field and they're off the site, the job site is still being monitored, protected, and watched. So that's also a positive that a lot of people see about cameras.
Yeah, I like it. How is the video documentation? How is that starting to integrate with other technologies? We've made it pretty far before the name AI came up, but how does video documentation integrate in with technologies like AI?
Yes. So with video and cameras specifically, it's all about computer vision. What can the camera see? So there's lots you can do with counting people, counting vehicles, monitoring equipment coming in and out of your job site, reading license plates of vehicles so you have a record of what came on and on the site. You can go further into safety. There's lots of technologies for making sure that all individuals do have the right PPE on, that they're not at risk of a fall, that there's not heavy equipment being moved over people. So the vision capabilities of camera, that's what excites me most when we say AI as it pertains to TrueLook, is what can the camera see that I can see with my eyes, and we can programmatically have the camera act upon when it sees it, because we can't watch the camera all the time. Then you have things like drones, ground capture. You have all sorts of other points of documentation and video capture that can then be fed in with cameras, and you start to get into the whole digital twin, the whole modeling of your job. You can do a lot of interesting, cool visualizations with all these different kinds of video captures. So I love how cameras used to just be, a fixed camera on a pole is now flying in the air over the job. It's inside the building, and you can start to capture, document, record, and now measure and do analytics with all these different kinds of video inputs. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I see some really cool potential of being that extra set of eyes in the safety realm of, when you're on the job site, you don't have 360 vision, and the cameras can come in and really help that of like, hey, you're about to go into something dangerous, stop, or the machine is coming at you, and we can course correct things before they happen. Back to that conversation that we were having earlier of preventing things from happening. I think that the cameras can really play a huge role in that ability on the safety front.
Yeah, I agree. And other supplemental technologies, radar, that's starting to be used more. You can obviously see something coming around a corner direct a camera to look at that. You can start to have this interaction of devices and different kind of sensors. So a camera can see something and trigger another device to react accordingly, or vice versa. So a connected job site is becoming more and more common, and that's wearables. A lot of it goes back to safety, is how do we keep workers safe? A camera may not be able to see around a corner, but a radar device might. So there's lots of unique applications of various technologies, and most of it I hope and wanted to continue to feed back to safety and protecting workers. And then, one step back from that is just everybody else can see what's going on and it's all documented. So a lot of unique applications, I think, that benefit everybody, including the field and the back office.
Yeah, for sure. Where do you think the industry's going over the next 5 years, from not just the video capture point of view, but just the technology in general as well?
I think what we'll see is, I said connected job site. We're going to see more of that. Everything's going to have a camera and everything's going to have a sensor. And, the line between those two will blur, but everything's documented. And that's just, a body cam, a helmet cam. Each piece of machinery moving around has a 360 camera on it. Everything's going to be recorded, documented, the temperature of the air, the wetness of the concrete, the rigidity of the steel. Everything is going to go into something, an algorithm. And obviously our good friend AI is going to use that data to tell you the state of health of your project. And it's going to know, if you make this one change in this one corner of your project, you're going to save $100,000 over the next 30 days. What the future holds is infinite data capture through all different kinds of medium, video, sensor, and beyond. And then that data is just going to be used to, one, make those in the field safer, two, act as a force multiplier for them. So they're going to have the right information at their fingertips to do their job better, more efficiently. And then three, all of those are going to produce dollars, basically savings for those on the project, savings to the owner. New ways and ideas about how we build, efficiencies in building are going to come from all this data. So it's going to be very fascinating. But the big challenge in the coming years is going to be data. There's just going to be more than we know what to do with. And that's where that AI aspect comes in, of helping us, pick out the nuggets of helpful information within that data.
Yeah. For sure. The data is a huge area of opportunity, if I put the positive spin on it. And that's a real big challenge of where are you going to store it? What are you looking for it? How are you going to mine it and all that? So a prediction time for you. You were talking about the connected construction site. How far in the future do you see the connected construction site really becoming a true reality, as you just described it?
Yeah, so obviously it's happening today. A lot of larger organizations are testing and trying new technologies right now. But just think, I don't have one, but everybody else has an Apple Watch. So those are already on the job. The infiltration of consumer devices makes it easy for jobs to start having these kinds of technologies on them. It's already out there. The hardest part is dollars. Technology is expensive. And so back to that earlier statement about a corporate mandate, an ROI, and adoption by the field. So we got to, an organization will make a decision. We're going to adopt this field technology for the job. What's the ROI on it? Why are we going to do it? And then why is the field going to adopt and use this technology? They have to understand what's the ROI for them. It's not just dollars for the parent company. It's the ROIs. I'm safer. I can work better. My back hurts less, whatever you want the return to be. We need adoption from the top to the bottom. And I feel like that's the biggest obstacle to this nebulous number of, within 1 year, all jobs will be 10% connected. Within 2 years, they'll be 50% connected. I think it's coming faster than we think, especially with AI as a great accelerant for getting technology in the right place and making it work well for others. So if you're asking me for a number, I'm just going to say it's sooner than we think. And a lot of the pieces are in play today. So, soon.
Yeah. Nice. Good sidestepping, but with the description there, I like it. So as we start to wrap up, a couple of rapid fire questions for you. What does the phrase modeling the future, what does that mean and look like to you?
Sure. As I'll say, as a father, no, in our business, modeling the future is we want to ask the questions you just asked. What does a connected job site look like? What does the job site of tomorrow look like? And where does TrueLook fit into that? And we obviously know, I already said it, there's a camera on everything, and TrueLook is perfectly positioned for that. So modeling the future to me is just dreaming big and then looking to how you can get to that dream. So that's how I would model the future.
Nice. You just brought up father. So I heard a little birdie told me that you are great at dad jokes. What's your best dad joke?
Normally, I have to have these like prepared in advance for my audience. So on the spot, I'm going to draw a total blank. I'll go with, okay, what did the janitor say when he jumped out of the closet?
What did you say?
Supplies!
Nice. That's a good one. I like it.
Okay.
I'll use that on my kids right after this. All right. So back to tech and innovation. Okay. What does innovation mean to you?
Innovation is looking at something that you've been doing and it works fine, but still asking, can we do this better? Status quo, same. Those are dangerous words. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Also dangerous words. They're a great way to survive and move forward, but innovation is looking at those specific things and being like, there's still got to be a better way. Mm-hmm. Just because it's not broken doesn't mean it can't be improved.
Yeah. Don't live in this is the way we've always done it mentality.
Yeah, exactly that.
How do people find out more information on TrueLook and connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So please go to our website, TrueLook.com. We've got tons of information there. Our phone number, we're on all social. We've got great content posted everywhere. So definitely reach out and we will help you from there.
Awesome. Well, final question for you, Roger. If I could give you all construction power, you could snap your fingers and innovate one thing in the industry, what would you pick to innovate?
I don't know if this is the right answer, but I think it would be really amazing if someone could actually achieve and create a space elevator. It's like a science fiction pipe dream because of the materials required to do that. So my innovation request, I guess, would be like material sciences to create the kind of material that would support a space elevator.
Nice. That's very cool. I've asked that at the end of every single podcast, and that's maybe one of the coolest answers that I've gotten. I like it.
Great. I love it. I set the bar for everybody.
That's right. I like bringing in the science fiction element to it. That's cool. Well, Roger, thanks so much for taking the time and joining the show today.
Yeah, absolutely, Todd. Thanks for having me. It was enjoyable to chat.